The world is about to witness something that could change everything we know about nature's fury. At this moment, Indonesia trembles under a threat that grows silently. Mount Soputan, a colossus that remained in relative calm for decades, is now showing signs that are keeping the world's most experienced scientists awake at night. What is happening in the depths of this fire giant is not just alarming, it is absolutely incomprehensible, defying everything modern science knows about volcanology. Indonesia's Center for Volcanology and Geological Disaster Mitigation, PVMBG, is issuing reports that send shockwaves through the international scientific community. The seismic activity at Mount Soputan has not just increased, it has intensified in a way that defies all known predictive models. The alert level is maintained at 2, classified as a state of vigilance, but behind the scenes, in the corridors of volcanology laboratories, there's a silent panic taking hold of the experts. Soputan is not just any volcano. Located on the northern peninsula of Sulawesi, this stratovolcano rises over 1,800 meters in altitude and is one of the most active volcanoes in Indonesia, a country that harbors more active volcanoes than any other nation on the planet. Imagine living in a land where the ground beneath your feet is literally a geological time bomb. Geologists who have dedicated their entire lives to studying volcanoes now find themselves in completely unknown territory. These elite professionals, veterans with 40-50 years of practical experience, are looking at the data coming from Soputan with an expression that mixes disbelief and barely disguised terror. What they are seeing simply does not make sense within the current scientific paradigm. The constant activity the volcano presents follows none of the patterns established in decades of volcanological research. Seismographs are recording continuous tremors that do not fit into any known category. They are not the typical tremors that precede an eruption, nor the regular patterns of a volcano in a normal state of activity. It is a seismic signature that has never been documented before in any volcano in the world. Monitoring stations are capturing vibrations that seem to come from multiple sources simultaneously, as if there were several magma chambers interacting in ways that science still does not fully understand. Confidential sources within the Indonesian volcanological community reveal absolutely chilling details. In private conversations away from press microphones, these experts admit something that would never be said publicly. They are terrified. A senior geologist with over 30 years studying Indonesian volcanoes confesses in a low voice, "We have never seen a volcano behave like this." Soputan's unpredictability is unraveling fundamental flaws in our understanding of geology, exposing gaps in theories we considered solid as rock, computer models that took years to develop, mathematical equations that seem to perfectly capture volcanic behavior. All of this is now being questioned. But the most terrifying truth is even deeper. Mount Soputan is preparing for something big. Seismic patterns suggest an accumulation of energy in the depths that is simply colossal. The pressure is constantly increasing, but no predictable way. It is like watching a pressure cooker slowly filling, knowing it will eventually explode, but having no idea when that will happen or how violent the explosion will be. The magma chambers beneath Soputan are showing signs of movement and reorganization. Seismic imaging techniques reveal that magma is moving in complex and chaotic ways. There is evidence that new chambers may be forming now, or that ancient chambers, long dormant, may be reactivating. The volume of magma available for a potential eruption may be much larger than any previous estimate. Thousands of people now live within the zone that would be directly affected by a significant eruption. But the danger does not end there. Truly massive eruption could launch volcanic ash into the atmosphere in quantities sufficient to affect global climate patterns. The eruption of Mount Tambora, also in Indonesia, was so violent that it caused what became known as the year without a summer, when global temperatures dropped drastically and thousands died of starvation in Europe and North America. Scientists cannot predict what comes next. The brightest minds in modern volcanology, armed with the most advanced technology ever developed by humanity, still cannot say with certainty what Soputan will do in the coming weeks or months. And we can do absolutely nothing to stop it. We cannot turn off a volcano like we turn off a machine. All we can do is observe, monitor, and wait. Indonesian authorities are in an impossible position. They need to balance keeping people informed with the risk of causing mass panic. Large-scale, preventive evacuations are incredibly disruptive and expensive, but at the same time, waiting too long could mean the difference between life and death for countless people. Beyond the immediate danger of lava, ash, and toxic gases, there are secondary threats equally deadly. Lahars, devastating avalanches of volcanic mud, can travel at surprising speeds, swallowing everything in their path. Pyroclastic flows, burning clouds of gas and rock fragments that descend the volcano's slopes at hundreds of kilometers per hour, are virtually impossible to escape. History is replete with examples of volcanic eruptions that changed the course of civilization. Pompeii and Herculaneum were completely obliterated by Vesuvius. The eruption of Krakatoa was so powerful that the explosion was heard more than 4,800 kilometers away, generating tsunamis that killed tens of thousands of people. The international scientific community is mobilizing significant resources to study Soputan at this moment. Research teams from renowned universities in Japan, the United States, Europe, and Australia are collaborating with Indonesian scientists. It is a truly global effort, but even with all these brilliant minds working on the problem, the truth remains. We are dealing with processes that occur miles deep under extreme pressure and temperature conditions impossible to replicate in a laboratory. And then comes the question everyone is asking: when will it happen? Will it be tomorrow, next week, in a month? Or perhaps the volcano will continue in this elevated state of activity for years? The brutally honest truth is that we simply do not know. Meanwhile, life continues for the people living in Soputan's shadow. Farmers tend their crops, children go to school, markets open their doors. It is a surreal existence, living with the constant awareness that everything could change in an instant. The economic impact is already being felt. Tourism in the region has practically disappeared. Investments are being withdrawn. Insurance is becoming impossible to obtain. Property values have plummeted. And all of this is happening even before any actual eruption. What can you do with this information? First, share it. Do not let this story be buried under the endless cycle of trivial news. Second, educate yourself. Learn about volcanoes, about disaster preparedness. Third, support science. The researchers working tirelessly to keep us safe need funding and public support. And finally, have compassion. Thousands of people in Indonesia are living under this threat every day. Time is running out. Every second that passes without an eruption is a blessing, but also potentially brings us closer to the moment when Soputan will finally release its accumulated fury. Scientists continue their vigil. Seismographs continue recording every tremor. Satellites continue observing from space, and communities around the volcano continue their lives, trapped between hope and fear. This is the moment to pay attention, to be prepared, and to remember that we live on an extraordinary and dynamic planet that occasionally reminds us in dramatic and terrifying ways how powerful the forces that shape our world are. Soputan is speaking now. The question is, are we listening? Are